Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of It's All in My Headset. This is the podcast that is exploring the lived experiences of mental health in the gaming community. From the ones that play the games to the ones that make them, we are aiming to raise awareness of mental health one level at a time. We are also partnered with Safe in Our World, as I am one of their clinical board members, and their mission is also to eliminate any stigma in the gaming community surrounding mental health. You can find out more at safeinourworld.org. I am your host, Sheila, senior therapist, nerd. We're currently experiencing a heatwave in the UK, so as you can see, me and my cat are currently dying. From Elden Lord to Lord of Cinder to the countless other titles she has accumulated through her adventures, Emma has built a community from her love of gaming, storytelling, and determination. Through her thoughtful content, infectious enthusiasm, and advocacy for mental health awareness, she has become a creator who inspires and also entertains. Please join me today with the amazing Emmalition. Emma, thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to chat with you. How are you feeling about the episode and the...
I'm excited to chat with you too. Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's good to be involved with. I think, like I mentioned to you when we spoke before, I've sort of followed the work of like Safe in Our World and stuff for quite a while, and just mental health obviously means a lot to me, as it does to many people. So it's cool to be asked to do something like this as someone who feels like they're somewhat on the periphery of the games industry, I would say, as like a creator.
You do a lot of work with Safe in Our World as well, don't you? Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've done previously with Safe in Our World?
Well, I was an ambassador for Safe in Our World a couple of years ago. Definitely was involved in like helping raise awareness and doing streams and stuff, and I think maybe like a couple articles here and there. But that's why this podcast is exciting, because I feel like I get to jump back into something I'm passionate about, which is cool.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about who is Emmalition?
Yeah, so
Emmalition. It's a bit of a broad question, so
deep introspection. Yeah, so
I was born
in 1995. Emmalition is my what do you call it, my gamer pen name for my online gaming content. Obviously my name's Emma, and if you've seen any of my videos, I repeat my intro like 5 times, although someone did still email me with the wrong name the other day, and I was like, come on man, I say it like 5 times at the start of every video. It happens, but that is the name I go by for my online content. I mainly do YouTube, and that's mostly because I grew up watching so much YouTube, like gaming videos, and like Jacksepticeye's been my boy since he was around. He doesn't know that, obviously, but
me and you are friends, Jack.
Yeah, I met him once and I was like, it's my close personal friend Jacksepticeye, who has no idea who I am. But yeah, he's the reason I sort of wanted to get into it. And like, so I think I was probably like 12 at the time of finding gaming on YouTube, and I always thought I could do that. That's so cool, and I've always been in, like a gamer and stuff. But it wasn't until 2021, I think. So a year of, obviously everyone knows, I'm not going to mention it, the year of D-Day in 2020 has a lot of people thinking about what they want to do with life, and I think I started finding more like gaming YouTubers, and I was like, I think I could do that, and I really want to. And obviously growing up kind of broke is the only word I could think for it. I've had to have like several corporate jobs that I don't enjoy, so I was like I want to do something for myself that's like in my own time and in like an industry I'm passionate about. And then just started googling how to do it. I started on my MacBook with recording headcam on my phone, because I just didn't know how to do it. No one puts a guide out there like how to start making Let's Plays, and so I just kind of cobbled together like a really janky setup and just decided to start and put myself out there. And then that's how that started.
That was around like from reflecting, you know, through the whole, as you said, D-Day, the pandemic. Do I want to bake banana bread? Do I want to actually start?
I think a lot of people had that around that time as well. Like I know quite a few of my friends now in the industry started around 2020 or 2021, because like there was not a lot else to do. And I quite like interesting actually when I look at how I think my channel did quite well quite quickly, like quicker than I expected. And I think that's probably because there were so many people in. That was a good time to start, in my opinion, because I know a lot of people kind of built their content careers around that time.
When we previously spoke, you know, we were talking about actually how we have quite a shared background in terms of working class family. Gaming was always a luxury. I very much, you know, my first ever like DS, my first ever PlayStation was like my brother bought secondhand from like CEX or something at the time. Like, what was gaming like for you as a companion, like during your early years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an only child for a start, which hopefully you can't tell, but I mean, I've been gaming since like forever. I got into games because my dad, he worked in a factory. He broke his leg on the job in 96. His friend who he worked with was like, you're gonna be so bored, do you want to borrow this console I have for a couple of weeks while you like recover? And he lent him his PS1 with Tomb Raider and a couple other games on it, like I think the original Doom, Karushi, Alien, and I was like 1.5, and I was transfixed by it. Apparently, obviously I don't have like the deepest memory, but I have photos and stuff. But but that very much became like commandeered by me after a point. My dad gave his friend his console back and then went and picked one up, I think secondhand, similar in like whatever it was at that point, like Game Station or somewhere like that. That's kind of how games came into my house, because I don't think either of my parents were into it before that. Like, they're both very nerdy. They've both always been into like movies and music, but not games. So yeah, from that point I was like, this is my thing now, this is my console. My mum used to tell me that I would talk about Lara like she was my friend, and I'd be like, look what Lara's doing, or Lara this, Lara that, and I would like go to school and like mention Lara. Apparently my teachers were like, Emma's got an imaginary friend, and my mum was like, no, she hasn't, she's real, she's just in a game.
So was Tomb Raider, like, would you say that was one of the first games that you really had a connection to, or is there, you know, another game that really comes up for you as well?
Yeah, I think it was on the PlayStation, it was Tomb Raider, and then my parents spoiled me with whatever pennies they had. I don't profess to know where they got this money from, but well, they told me the Tooth Fairy got me, so maybe that's true. But it was I believe it. It was the Pikachu N64, which I still have, and it still works.
That's amazing.
And that was Zelda Ocarina of Time and
classic.
Mario 64. And we would get games from like car boot sales and stuff. So like back in the day, in the 90s, the car boot sales were actually good, and they weren't just full of things for people to sell on Vinted.
And they were, for sure, they were like a whole event as well. Like my dad also used to do car boots, and we would be like up at 6 a.m. and like packing the car.
Oh my God,
like a whole, we've got sandwiches and like tea in a mart. Like, you know, it's a whole thing.
When I go into like CEX and I see like Pokemon Stadium in the box and they're selling it for like 60 quid, and I'm just like, I hate that like childhood joy is now behind such a high paywall.
Yes, 100%.
It frustrates me so much, because I just think like, if I couldn't grab those games secondhand from somewhere like a car boot sale as a kid, I genuinely think my whole life would be different. If they were hidden from poor kids behind this guise of being a collector's item, I find it sad. Like, it just saddens me.
You make such a good point, and actually not one that I've actually reflected on, to be honest. Like, the fact that we were still able to access this form of joy and comfortability, whether it was secondhand or whatever, like, we had that ability to do that. And nowadays, I mean, you know, we don't have to get so systemic.
No,
like,
it's true.
And all of that stuff, like capitalism. But like, all of it it's creating real barriers. And I think also, if we look at the way in which the gaming industry is booming now, and actually we're all about accessibility, and we're probably trying to get more people in, you know, gaming companies are really trying to grow the accessibility to gaming. And also I think when we were younger, gaming was so, you know, it was like, well, for me anyway, it was kind of more assigned with my older brother. It was never really assigned to me, even though we both enjoyed it. It was always about the boys were, you know. And so now we're also introducing women to the community. I mean, there's all these aspects, and yet
the class issue is rife.
The class issue, 100%.
And the like, geoeconomics as well, because I just think so many games won't allow you to play unless you can install this update or play online or have an online subscription. I'm like, not everyone in the world has the internet. Like, genuinely,
100%.
It's wild.
I think that's why it was different as well, like back in the day, because I didn't have internet like for a long time, again, just due to the fact that we couldn't fucking afford it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
most of the games that I played were single player games.
Yeah.
To the extent of kids what they have now.
No.
Fortnite and
Yeah.
in Apex Legends and all this stuff. I mean, if that stuff came out
Yeah.
when I was a child undiagnosed ADHD, I don't think I would have got through school.
No, I would be on the street.
You know? I would be, yeah. So when you started then making content, you went into some of the most difficult types of games. You fully, you were doing Souls.
Yeah.
Souls types and roguelikes. And
Yeah.
do you want to tell me about that? Do you want to tell me about
Sure.
the journey? Because, I think Souls games are a whole thing in themselves.
I mean, I'd never even heard of a Souls game until I started Emmalition. Like, that was new to me completely. Like, I hadn't even heard of it in conversation because I, like you, very much grew up on the single player journey. Like, I am very much like, gaming is not a social activity for me, which is probably ironic considering I post gaming videos to like tens of thousands of people. But like, even some of my best friends in the world were like, do you want to jump on and play like Faz or Elden Ring? And I'm like, not really. I'd rather play it by myself. I'll see you at the coffee shop. So the reason I got into these games is because I tried so hard for months and months and months to get a PS5, which I don't know if you remember, but it was so hard to get a PS5 at the time. Like, and when I got it, I was like, okay, what do I play? Because I've kind of played everything that's on PS4 that you can also play on PS5. And I was speaking to my friend Jimmy at the time, who was like, have you heard of Returnal? And I was like, no. And he was like, I think you'd like that because it's like a set in space and it's about a woman. And I was like, well, Alien's my favorite film. That sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Oh, love that.
I'd never heard of a roguelike in my life. Didn't know about procedurally generated games or anything like that, but I was like, that sounds fun. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And like Jane Perry, who does the voice acting for Celine, I was just immediately just in love with her performance. And I remember going out into the first level, immediately dying, losing all my stuff and just being like, what the fuck? I was like, what kind of fucked up game is this? But I was like, oh, I kind of want to try again. And then I got to my first boss and it absolutely destroyed me. And I was like, okay, what did I do wrong? And then it went from there, where that was my first like let's play. All of these new neural pathways opened up in my brain where I was like, oh, maybe I kind of like this kind of game that forces you to improve and change strategy and puts you through these trials to help you feel like you're getting better. So my same friend Jimmy was like, hey, if you like that, have you heard of Demon Souls? And that was it. Like, from then on, I was just like, okay, I go from Demon Souls, I'm gonna try Bloodborne, I'm then gonna play Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and Elden Ring and blah 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 blah. I'm standing next to my Melania arm with my like Dark Souls painting in the background.
Souls games are such a specific genre. I feel like once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
I think it can feel like such a hard, I want to say like gate to get through, if you know what I mean. There's probably a better way to say that. I'm very similarly, I'm a huge Souls. And I've played pretty much all of them apart from Dark Souls 2 because I tried it and I hated it.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, but I just couldn't get
alone.
into it. Sekiro is actually my favorite, and I've got a little Sekiro print that you'll see behind me. I think one of the reasons is the narrative. You know? Tell me about your reasons for why Souls are such a connection for you.
Just like narratively for me, there's so much I love about them. I could talk about them for the next hour, but I think the first one is obviously, I've already touched on it, but like the resilience aspect. So the idea that you are constantly learning, you're constantly improving, and like even dying isn't enough to keep you down. Like like death is like the ultimate L in any video game. Like I remember growing up, if you died in Crash Bandicoot, you ran out of lives. It was like, you died, game over. And it's like, oh fuck, I have to start again. If you die, it's like, oh, suddenly the biggest obstacle that I've grown up to know is like, you know, you only get better. And in obviously Souls games, you lose like your primary currency, but you still improve mentally. And it, for me, it just really reinforces the idea of like never giving up. And like, I just think the feeling of beating a Souls game is just like second to none. And it just proves to me that I can do difficult things. I didn't grow up playing hard games. Like I was like, if I can learn to play these games and be good at them in my like mid to late 20s, like I feel like capable as a person. And then there's also like the feminist lens to view it all through. I think they are very like deeply feminist games and the way they explore
they really
femininity.
You make such a good point.
Yeah, like
they really are.
especially Bloodborne and Elden Ring, but also like Dark Souls 3 as well. Like they're so, the way they explore womanhood is so interesting to me. Very inspiring. Like, just a side note, which I will waffle forever, but I'm currently doing a creative writing master's.
Oh my god!
And I'm just drawing on so much inspiration from Dark Souls. Yeah, because I'm like, if I can tell stories even half as well as like Mr. Miyazaki, I'll be a very happy author.
We really hear, this development of resilience and how souls can really become almost enmeshed with like self-confidence. Perhaps, that's a broader discussion around gaming and what gaming can be for self-confidence and self-esteem, and sometimes how that can interlink, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
But I really empathize with the reflection that you're talking about, because Bloodborne was my first one, and I remember when I played it for the first time, and my fiance had already played it, and I died, and I was someone that used to get quite frustrated when I would die.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because of the same thing of like, I have something to prove.
Yeah.
I have to prove that I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And then I remember my fiance saying to me, you're gonna have to get comfortable with dying in Souls games. And once you do,
you're like, I'm
really,
free.
I'm free. Like, once you realize that dying is not like the epitome of you as a gamer.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular boss from any game that really was a transformative, that was the boss for you?
I think like, in terms of the boss that gave me the most like gratification, it was definitely Sword Saint Ishin. Because I genuinely, for the love of God, I'm shit. I think I'm shit at Sekiro. Like, I beat it.
No, I watched some of your videos, and I actually watched you fight him, and it was pretty good. He does pull out a gun in phase 3, which
I genuinely thought for several points during recording that, I was like, I think this could be it. We could be cooked. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And then when I did it, like, I screamed so loud, my cat ran out of the room. So that was definitely, like, for me, the biggest point to prove, because I felt so incapable right to the end of the game, like right to rolling credits, and I still did it. For me, that was it. I was like, I'm a god. No one can stop me now.
It's really interesting though, isn't it? Because the different Souls games will be different for everyone. You'll find one boss easy, and then you'll find another boss hard. I had a really good time with Ishin. The one for me that ruined my life and actually made me take like a break from the game. And again, I know it's like so different for everyone. It was Orphan of Kos.
He's a mean baby.
If I have to hear his scream, like when I used to Twitch stream and I would watch someone play Bloodborne and they would be on him, I wouldn't watch the stream. Like, I genuinely
so
had like
traumatized. Yeah.
Obviously the meat and potatoes of today is going to be about mental health, but I do think it's really interesting to explore your history and background with gaming, what it's meant to you, because I think that leads into your journey. So alongside, gaming as a child, coming from a working class background, could you tell me a little bit about your mental health journey? And you can start with wherever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. So I think like I said, I've been playing games my whole life, and then it's kind of feels like a slightly generic tale of woe, but I'll try not to undermine myself. I had a couple friends in school but got bullied due to my weight. I was very overweight in school, which again you can attribute to a few things, including the coming from a working class background, having low nutrition meals and things like that. Also getting free school meals and kind of being able to eat as much as you could. A lot of things to unpack, which probably isn't for this podcast, but that led to, I mean, kids can be cruel, and like
can be mean.
Yeah, it was rough to feel isolated because of my weight, and there's probably so many people who can relate to that kind of thing. And I think games became my, like, they're an escape, and like it wasn't just games, it was movies, it was books, it was whatever I could do on my own, where I feel like no one could be mean to me, which probably also is why, come year 8 or 2008, when a lot of people started playing online, I never did, because I was like, I don't need to give people another communication line to talk shit about me or to me. So the start of my mental health issues was like the feeling of isolation and being ostracized in school, which obviously leads to depression, anxiety, and things like that. And then sort of in later secondary school, so I would say like 14, 15, I developed an eating disorder because of the bullying. Like, that triggered it, I guess. Where you kind of feel like, okay, everyone hates me because I'm overweight. How can I fix this? And Tumblr was very popular at the time. They're showing my age.
So was rife.
Yeah, and like that was just ED rife on Tumblr. So it was kind of like you had a handbook of how to like develop an eating disorder should you wish to have one, which obviously no one wishes to have one, but that's at the time it felt like this is my only way out, because especially again, like my parents both had eating disorders as well. It kind of felt like there was and obviously I don't want to speak for them. There is a chance my dad will watch this while he's at work. Hi, Dad. No one maybe had like the healthiest relationship with food, and I think they would both openly say that if I asked them as well. So it felt like I was a bit on my own in figuring out what to do, and then developed an eating disorder, lost a lot of weight going into college, got very, very thin, and people started being super nice to me, and I made loads of friends, and people told me how much better I looked, which is fucked up. So
that is
it kind of feels like you go from one extreme to the other, and then you get all this positive affirmations and things like that for how you look, even though you're being extremely unhealthy and cruel to yourself, but the social reinforcements kind of tell you that that's what you should be doing. And then it wasn't until I got to uni, age 18, and I met my still best friend Lucy, who she kind of like taught me how to cook and helped me quite a lot. We would end up just sitting in bed together, just eating like a pack of digestives with peanut butter spread over them. And I started to like learn to enjoy food again, because I had these positive relationships with food for once, where I was eating socially. It's honestly taken probably until 2024 to say I feel like I'm okay. Which is wild when I think about it, but it's been like a lifetime of figuring that out. And I wouldn't say I've like had an eating disorder for most of my 20s, but I definitely think that it returned to that kind of general level that a lot of women experience anyway, where you just are constantly fighting between I love myself, I should do what I want, and then oh no, I've gained weight, I should stop eating again. And that, I think a lot of people go through that, and no one ever talks about it.
You know, there was an aspect of not really having safety, you know, either at school, I suppose around eating at home was quite challenging for multiple reasons. Gaming was, you know, an aspect of maybe feeling safe. But firstly, I want to recognize, thank you so much for sharing. I actually think bullying, especially in young girls, is such an important topic. And we hear about it and we know about it, but the impact of bullying is so substantial.
It's lifelong.
Self-esteem, you know, is once it's shattered, especially around that like pivotal age of teenhood,
formative,
it can take a lifetime to kind of, you know, put those pieces back together, so to speak. I'm shocked by just the commonality of experience. Even though technically we met online, it's quite interesting to hear the mirrored identical experience that we had in school. I did not present with an eating disorder, but I still very much relate to the challenges that come with being a woman. And also, you know, you make a good point about being a woman and having this like duality of being like really confident, you know, I'm a feminist, I love, you know, it doesn't matter about my body, and I should appreciate my body, and I should appreciate my size. But then also the duality of that, of like, actually you do have to be skinny, and you do have to look a certain way in order to feel confident. What was the kind of coping mechanisms that you did outside of gaming around that time?
I went to a doctor in college and kind of got help through CBT at the time, but I didn't get on with it, and that's not because I don't think it's good. I just think I tried to intellectualize my way out of it as a 17-year-old, thinking that I knew everything, thinking like, I hear you, but I also don't agree, and I know what's best for me. And I think I was just a bit stubborn at that time. It's hard to help someone that doesn't want to hear what you have to say. And I think I maybe just wasn't like severe enough like to warrant any like very strong intervention. It was kind of like, she's not eating enough, she's clearly lost like some weight, like let's do the CBT thing. So I think I just maybe didn't take the help that was given to me and tried to sort of tackle it myself, which I did. I did a lot of self-help stuff because I wanted to lead myself through it, and I can still be a bit like that now, although I'm definitely a lot more open. But I think that I, like many teenagers, just felt like you can't possibly understand how this feels for me, like it's, you know, very emo when looking back. But
it's really interesting because one of the connections that you really feel with things like Souls games is the resilience, right? And the aspect of being able to not be defeated, pull yourself through. And I'm hearing that was a real theme for you throughout your life. I mean, even when you were like, yes, okay, we can take into the fact that as teenagers they don't have maybe the confidence to ask for help in the same way that like adults do once we kind of have that maturity or emotional maturity, but it sounds like there was still a theme that was really important for you, which was actually, I can get through this, like I'm going to be able to pull myself through this. And also, you know, I do want to reflect some more self-compassion for your younger self. You know, it wasn't that you were stubborn, or it wasn't that you were, you know, not able to identify what the person was saying and were choosing not to do it. You know, you were at a very painful time, and intellectualizing, you know, being very logical about our feelings is just a way for us to cope with how difficult they are and how painful they are. I see clients sometimes that are really good at telling me like what they're feeling and why they're feeling it, but they don't feel it, and it's really interesting.
That is interesting.
It's a real shame, just to go back to, you know, the positive reinforcements then that you have, which is, oh my god, you look fantastic, oh my god, you look amazing,
and then your value is just completely attached to your size. And like I don't feel it as strongly now, but I do have like a low grade anxiety that I feel like I don't know when that will go, of like, if I gain weight people will like me less. And I know that is not true, but I can't shake that fear. It's like haunting because of how I was treated. And it's not like if my friends gained weight, or I have friends that are bigger, I have friends that are smaller, like my friends are a whole cast and variety of characters, and we all look different and we all like different things, and I don't value any of them differently based on any of that. And then it's hard then to go, well, why do I feel like that would be the case in reverse? And it is just because of those things you go through in those formative years where you're learning how people assess your value.
I would be so interested in deep diving into that, because I would say actually someone with a history of an eating disorder and a history of kind of self-esteem difficulties, you're now making content online, which naturally, we know, unfortunately, being online, you will be scrutinized and you will have responses. I mean, how do you navigate like looking after your self-esteem with potential comments and things like that?
I think like first of all, not reading comments too often is good. And I also have a very supportive, very awesome team of mods who go through YouTube comments and things like that for me, and remove things here and there. I also, like, on Instagram, I only allow people who follow me to comment. I do put those safeguards in place for myself, because for me, having more comments and engagement isn't more important than my mental health. And I know that some people wouldn't be the same, and that's their choice. Like, if they are happy to receive weird comments and abuse just to get comments up, power to you, like, but that's just not worth it for me. Like, my mental peace is like the most expensive thing for me. I don't know if it's because of those things I've just said, but I don't feel like I've had it quite as bad as some of my like girl content creator friends that I know. I feel like my friends who make content, we all have similar backgrounds with worrying about our appearance. And interestingly, I'm obviously not going to name anyone, but a couple of good sort of streamer friends of mine, they also come from like lower economic backgrounds, and they also have hang-ups about their appearance and concerns and things like that. And I feel like there's part of us that's like, yes, it's hard, but it's also worth it to put myself in a good position for the rest of my life. And like, not that I make a fortune, like this isn't my full-time job, like I do this part-time and I work, but like there's a lot of people out there who probably are struggling with how they have to navigate their appearance being scrutinized, but for them that's worth it, just to not end up in a poor position like the family that they're from.
It is quite interesting, and looking at the types of women that are attracted to content creation, as you've said, it's fascinating to see that a lot of us have similarities. And you know, I don't tend to like talk about myself too much, but I do really want to actually
please do
share, which like you've brought up for me, which is when I was in school, I was actually quite underweight, and that was mainly because I was also struggling with undiagnosed OCD, so I was just essentially, you know, a very mentally ill child that I feel like the way in which I saw my body was through a trauma lens. in school, it was quite interesting that most of the bullying that I was given was about my appearance. It was like usually because I was ginger, which was like the very like
so
2000s,
pathetic. It was the same in school for me. Like anyone ginger, I just felt so sorry for. It makes no sense.
Dumb.
I blame South Park.
Yeah, fuck South Park, man. Back on it now, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. But anyway, so it was like ginger. It's like for some reason, people really picked on my personality. I wonder if it was because I was very ADHD. I was very unable to fit into a specific type of group. I also probably didn't really have good emotional regulation at that time.
Yeah.
You know, I was very sensitive. People's comments would really hurt me and upset me. And I think that sort of reaction was really what bullies kind of tend to look for.
Yeah.
I guess at that age for me, it was like I couldn't change my looks, and I tried. You know, I would straighten my hair every day, and I would, you know, all sorts.
Get that,
but, my personality felt like it was me, and I didn't understand why people just didn't like me, and I think that created such a horrible dynamic with myself, where I was just constantly trying to appear a certain way so that people would like me, but then I was like too much, or I wasn't enough. And it was really damaging. Year 9, I would say, I very similarly was like completely alone. I didn't have any friends. I would just bring my DS into school. I think by the time I got to college then, I fell into kind of a party crowd. It was constantly like the life of the party, and it had to be the funniest, and I had to be like the biggest personality in the room.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Yeah,
I definitely resonate with a lot of what you said. Like, I think I still joke about it now, but when you're fat in school, you have to be funny. So luckily, I'm hilarious now as an adult, because constantly clowning on myself before anyone else could. And my best friend in school, Tom, like we're still friends now. He was also, no offense Tom if you're watching this, but kind of like one of the nerdy losers, hence why he was friends with me. But we were both just funny, and we both grew up being that clown, because when you make people laugh, they're not going to be mean to you, is the thinking.
That's exactly it.
And I think I think I put a lot of my own passions and genuine interests aside in favor of trying to protect myself socially. Like, I felt like I had to perform, I think. And like, I'm a theatre kid as well, so I was quite happy to do that.
My God, me too! I wonder what it is, like all the nerds and the theatre kids, you know.
So I feel like I would just want to go back. And you know what? I wouldn't want to change anything, because even though there was a lot of trauma and decisions I probably shouldn't have made for myself, I think like anything, it's like Back to the Future, right? Like if I go back and change anything, I'm not going to be who I am now. I would just reassure myself that eventually I'll be fine, and you'll find people who respect you for who you are, and your hobbies will make you money someday, and you'll be fine. But I wouldn't believe it anyway.
I look back on some of the girls that were really, really mean to me. And I mean, like, the bullying, like, back in the 2000s, I mean, I wonder if it would be any different to now. Maybe it would be worse now because of the internet, but it was when the internet was really rife and there was just not much moderation. I had people posting, like, photos of bleach and stuff on my Facebook wall and telling me to die, and it was just, like...
It was like Bebo for me, like Bebo, Pixo, like people made like full websites about me and how shit I was and a fat loser and all this stuff. But do you know what's interesting is, like, when I look back, it was like more boys than girls that were cruel to me because of my weight. And like I can still remember all their names, and I remember how they look, I remember exactly what they said. And like there were girls that did it, but it wasn't an innately like girl on girl thing. Like there was a lot of boys that were cruel to me for it. That's really interesting.
It's quite interesting that the boys were the ones commenting on your weight. I wonder now, like, I do find that, at least being in online spaces, I do find the majority of like mean comments that I've experienced or I've witnessed, like my friends experience on Twitch, for example, are from men about
I don't need to even see their faces or know that they're men as well. Like when I see the comments, I'm like, cool, man. Cool. Who asked? But then we could get into a tangent about fucking incel culture and all sorts. Like,
well, that's all. I mean, but I'll put a pin because Because I actually wouldn't mind exploring it.
Yeah.
But I find it really interesting, and I appreciate kind of exploring that, because I think, as I said, we hear about bullying and it's quite interesting, but as someone who had a really damaging experience with being online, it's quite interesting that you kind of was now making online content. The culture of kind of toxic men, should I say, incel culture is rife.
Yeah.
What is your kind of experience as a female content creator online? Now we understand that you've also got this background of history of difficulties around how people treat you, and that's been brought on online as well. Like, what are your thoughts and experiences of that?
I feel quite fortunate. I don't feel like I've had anything too scary in that regard to this point. Touch wood. It's, and like I have a lot of great men in my community, like in my Discord, like some of the most kind, interesting people in there are men. Like there's women too, there's trans people, non-binary people, but like there's a lot of safe men in there, which I love, because and
that's important.
And it's hard. I think a lot of female content creators would probably struggle to say that, because you're never sure if there's like a agenda there, right? It's nice to have at least a handful of men who I feel like are just genuine. I've had a couple weird comments on Twitch, and I get a couple of comments on YouTube that I've seen just because I've looked at my comments before my mods have had a chance to look. There was someone I muted or discarded from my YouTube comments recently because they kept saying they were going to kill me if I didn't play the game that they wanted me to play, and I was just like, you're not, but I'm concerned that you might try, so I just blocked them. I didn't reply
really
or anything.
Scary.
But
that's really scary.
Reading stuff like that is just like it's what's the word? It's like sobering, because I think like I maybe go through my content and through my life, maybe not naively, but because I don't get a lot of bad stuff coming in, I just sort of take for granted that like things are fine. But then I'm like, there's over like 50,000 people watching my channel, and there's probably going to be a fair amount of like odd people, and it just for me, it just like, it's like a interesting thing to just try and understand what would embolden anyone to say something like that. Like I immediately am just like, where does that come from? Like, why do you think you can talk to someone like that? They think they own you, I think, is what I get from it. They're like, I watch you, you're my favorite creator, you're a woman, you're below me, I own you, I tell you what to play, I'm gonna kill you if you don't play it. And it's just like, it's fucking weird.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Because you want to be engaging, you want to build connection with the people that watch you, but unfortunately there are certain people that maybe have existing either mental health difficulties or and unfortunately the connection they feel with you is different, and is maybe interpreted different, right? And it's how do you balance that? How do you balance building rapport and connection with the community, and then also, managing that in a healthy way? Yeah,
I think just having those strong boundaries. Like I shut anyone down, like on Twitch immediately. I have a great group of regular community viewers and mods that will just lambast anyone that says anything like that, which is nice. I just try to be quite firm with my position on who I am and what I expect. After initially I played a lot of Souls games, I definitely started to feel a more soft community come in when I started playing Life is Strange. That community feels very diverse and a lot more feminine. Obviously there's I've got a fair few like trans viewers from that as well, which is amazing, and a lot more women or like cis women and stuff as well. So it feels like that softened things a little bit, and that the audience, because they're more diverse, they're not just men, like it feels like that's been quite a nice change for the channel. And I feel a little less worried when I share like Life is Strange videos. There is a low grade anxiety I get when I post a game that has a large male audience, because I know it's going to be full of backseating and shit comments and just bad negative. It's a negative atmosphere when you play games like that in the comments. And I don't like it. So
you know, I think about there was once when I posted a an episode of a cyberpunk playthrough that I was doing, and I only posted episode 1, and it just weirdly got caught by the algorithm. Nice. I'll never understand it. Don't know why. I didn't upload any other episodes after that because the comments were, I mean, obviously there was some really lovely ones, obviously, and people were, you know, as it was, but actually it was a lot of like, you're so loud, you know, why are you, you know, talking that way, or why do you look that way, like, just so, like, it's just very interesting. And again, like, it seems very interesting that all the comments were mainly just like, you know, she doesn't clearly shut up, and you know, I wonder if she has a partner, and I wonder if she's that loud with her partner, and just like really like,
it's gross,
crazy comments,
and it's
of like,
none of these,
you don't know me.
They wouldn't say it to my face, like they would not say it to my face, and I fucking know that they wouldn't, and that's why I don't give a shit what they think.
Never. But you know what I love about you is that you've taken what you've been through, and you've actually developed quite a strong sense of self, and that's not only in terms of like who you are, but what you need. And you can really see that from the community and space that you're creating, is that obviously you're doing kind of the practical things that, you know, to create an actual practical safety for yourself, but you're also just like, this is what's important to me, this is the content that I find that is filling my cup and really fulfilling and brings a lot of value to me. And I think that's really difficult because not only are you a woman in a gaming space, which, you know, we are having more of a presence in, but we are still up against a predominantly, you know, large male audience. You are taking up space in a way that's like super empowering. Thank you. You know, and really changing the game. And I think it's wonderful to look at. Yeah.
And I would never want to sort of like, I would never want it to come across as like, oh, my demographic is all men, this sucks, like blah blah blah. Like, that's not it. And like, I'm so grateful for the position I've got to, and I'm so grateful for all of that, whatever, like 97% of men that are watching the videos and the ones that are kind and bring value to the community. It's not about the fact they are men, it's just about the fact that all of the toxicity also comes from that 97%, which is a shame, because it just it tarnishes like it tarnishes it, and it's not fair, but it is just the reality of it. And I think if a man who's a fan of me is watching this going, I can't believe she's saying this about me, you should know it's not aimed at you. And if you're thinking that, then it probably is aimed at you.
Well, you know, the shit fits.
have some critical thought. Like, it's like a not all men thing again. Like, it's so, if you feel like you have to caveat, right? Because you're already anticipating like the shit, and that's the kind of headspace I get into, where I feel like I have to soften everything I say.
We shouldn't have to do that. And I think as well, there needs to be more accountability between men in the space of like, well, why are you saying that? Because it's not all of us. It's like, okay,
it should be, I'm sorry that the other men in the space are being dicks. I will be extra nice to make up for it.
It's like, I acknowledge that this is inherently, unfortunately, a male problem. In other aspects then of protecting your well-being, do you have anything else that comes up for you when I ask about that question? So not only just protecting yourself in terms of like mean comments or, you know, that sort of thing, because I know when we last spoke, you actually framed it in a really lovely way, where you were talking about kind of two different identities. You know, you have Emmalition, then you have Emma. Does anything come up for you when I mentioned that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I saw a post about this recently, and I can't remember where, but it was talking about having a separate name for your business or whatever it is to you and who you are in your personal life. And I definitely feel like having like Emmalition separate does help me separate things and unwind from the content space. And it's not like me being Emmalition isn't who I am, and like I'm talking to you now for an Emmalition thing, but I'm still being Emma. And like I think it just helps like psychologically compartmentalize for if people are being cruel, or if something bad happens, or something goes wrong with a sponsor or anything like that. I can sort of say that's an Emmalition problem, and then I can go do my own thing and exist in my space that doesn't just exist in this small square footage of where my desk is. I can like walk away. And even with like I use it all the time. Like, I have a business account for Emmalition like on my bank, and if I want to buy something for my business, I'll sort of be like, thank you, Emmalition, like it's a separate person, even though it's my money.
Cool.
Because I obviously have a lot of issues with money as well, which you've already spoken about from growing up in a low economic background, and like, so that helps me spend on things that I would feel uncomfortable spending money on.
I think that's wonderful. And I suppose it is important to be able to separate the two, you know, even for kind of rest and recovery as well, and being able to process all of those kind of things that are challenged and come up, you know, from your background, from your history, whilst also navigating this, like, I guess you're working 2 jobs. I mean, you are, you know, you're doing content creation part-time and then your main job.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, I work full-time, like 38.5 whatever hours a week.
Oh my god, you work full-time as well as part-time.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Emma.
I'm full-time project manager, baby.
Oh my god.
And,
because also you don't, like, your content creation is I would say it's almost full-time as well. Like, you pump out a lot of content, which is amazing and incredible. I work full-time as well, and I do an episode when I have the capacity. How do you do that?
I don't know. Someone else is piloting my body. Tend to record in like bursts. So like when Saros came out, I think I played like half the game before I'd even posted any of it. So then I had I had like 5 videos ready to go. So it looks like I'm making content really regularly, but I actually did it all in like a weekend. I have like a really supportive fiance who also does content. He does like Magic the Gathering content, so like he gets it. He is so helpful and so supportive, and like we have a very supportive relationship where like if I'm like I need to record a YouTube video for a couple hours, he'll like do the dinner and things like that. Like that's
amazing.
It's very like symbiotic in that way, and I feel like very supported and looked after, and like there's nothing that's kind of being neglected because I'm doing my content.
It's nice that you have you seem to have a real support network, but also that's a credit to you, you know, that you are very clearly present in the lives of the people around you. And
I definitely feel very supported, and like my relationship of like almost 10 years ended a couple of years ago, but like regardless of everything that happened there, like he was also supportive, and like he was also very helpful with like the eating side of things too. So like even though that didn't work out, and I think a lot of people who are flirting with the age of 30 will find their relationships may start to I don't know, strain, because there's just something about this age. It's magic. I think the Saturn returning is probably why.
That's a thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think like I was very fortunate, and I would say that to him now, and I think he would agree. Like he was so supportive the whole time, and
I mean, it sounds like you went through a lot of additional changes as well, like during your content creation.
Yeah,
wow. That was going on.
I've moved so many times. Like someone joked in my comments that they asked if I was running from something because I've had to move so many times. I was like, no, I don't enjoy it any more than you do.
Gaming has really just always been an anchor for you,
and I did my dissertation about games. Like fortunately I went to Bournemouth uni.
So fun.
Yeah, I went.
Oh, amazing!
I went to Bournemouth, and they're like the biggest media school in the UK, I think. So the English course was a bit less traditional than what you might expect, and I ended up doing my dissertation about like the representation of the war on terror within video games and like postmodernism and stuff. So I wrote,
oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I wrote about like Call of Duty and things like that, which was really fun. So it's always been there, like. And even applying for my MA, I had to go back to my undergrad dissertation supervisor and be like, remember me? Can you do me a reference? And he was like, he remembered me, and he said that he still thinks about this assignment I did about The Last of Us, because he was like, it was so good. And I was like, yeah.
Oh my god. That's so, I'm obsessed with that. It's really interesting. Not that I did my diss on gaming. I wish I did now. But for my undergrad, I did how women reconstruct their sense of self and sense of identity after experiencing intimate partner violence. But there was actually an aspect of like hobbies and like a theme of like women rediscovering like this anchor of safety, which is really interesting. And actually quite a few women that I had spoken to had found that they had a hobby which they didn't describe as a hobby. They were almost just like, well, this is something that I do in my spare time that makes me feel safe, but it can't be a hobby because it's not, proactive. Hobbies are whatever you want them to be, whatever gives you a sense of like,
that's so
safety
interesting,
and reconnection with yourself. I want to know all about your masters. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I'm
because also
so excited.
You're doing a master's a little bit later, which I actually love.
Yeah.
And I think is so valid, and actually we should do more of. I mean, I saw that the University of Exeter are doing a degree in occult magic, and I was like, I would do that. I would go back.
Well, Exeter is actually where I'm at, so you should join me. We could be alumni.
I should. Why not? I'll study to be a witch officially. And
I'll write your books.
write my book. Write my spell book.
Yeah.
Tell me about your masters.
Yeah, so it's interesting actually. It does actually feed back into the mental health thing quite nicely, which is helpful considering the conversation we're having. I started a master's when I was 22. Part-time on campus while I was working, and didn't feel like super supported at home, like with my partner I was with, just with the things I've mentioned that myself and my fiance now have with that like symbiosis and the tag teaming. I didn't really feel that before, so I felt a lot of pressure and stress, and I think I was still in that post-uni, what am I doing? I'm depressed. Like I love education, I love learning, I love academia. So I started an MA and I got like 6 months in and I dropped out because my mental health was so bad. And then I had to pay for it over the course of like the next 3 or 4 years, even though I never even got the degree, which was like a monthly reminder of my own failure, which was brutal. And then 6 or 7 months ago, I was talking to Adam, my partner, about creative writing and my degree, and he asked the sort of things I used to write, and he asked to see some of my work, and I was like, oh, this is so embarrassing, I haven't looked at it for so long. And he read one of my short stories, and he literally like slammed the laptop lid down, and he was like, where's the rest? I need more, like this is so good. And I was like, oh, I'm obsessed, genuinely really surprised. And he's into like, we share so many of the same interests and passions. Like he loves reading and he's a musician. Like, so we share a lot of sort of artistic passions. And I spoke to him about that story and all the other ideas I had for it. And I was like, I would love to do writing. I've growing up, the two things that were always there were games and books, and like creative writing and making up stories. And games obviously inspire a lot of that as well. It always for me comes back to poor people can't do the arts, like that's not for me. So it never even occurred to me to try and take that somewhere as a career.
True, man.
Oh my God, I was like, how really, like the starving artist in London happens to live in a flat that's paid for by their parents. Like that's just how it is, and that's not for me. And he was like, fuck that, because he comes from a similar background to me, and he did really well in music. And I was like, I would love to do a creative writing MA. One of my best friends, Harriet, did one straight out of uni, and she wrote a book and got published, and she did really well. And she's working on a second book, and she's really inspiring and impressive, and again from a similar background. And I was like, I've got myself to a point in my career where I have a really understanding boss. I'm quite senior. I earn I don't earn a ton by any means, but I earn well enough that I can put the money aside to pay for my own MA. So I'm paying for it all myself.
That's amazing.
And I do have a real sense of pride around that. I've just finished my second week, and the neurons firing in my brain, I feel like I've learned so much. I've done so much writing already. And oh my God, I feel like I've proved to myself that it wasn't just that one good idea I had when I was like 20. I've already written so much that I'm already quite proud of, and I just love it. And it really suits me, I think, like to be in that environment. And like, I like my corporate job. It's fine. It pays the bills. Everyone I work with is really cool and lovely. But this is where my passion lies. And I think like having Emmalition and then having my MA and then work, it all just feels like it's working quite neatly together for now.
I mean, it's so inspiring, and also like I find it quite funny the crossover between creative writing and gaming, I mean, there's a real aspect of escapism, isn't there? And I mean, creative writing is also a hobby. Let's talk, you know, it is.
Yeah.
And it's something that can be done. What made you want to actually like study creative writing as opposed to just doing creative writing as it is? I'm curious about your,
I think it was the original short story that I showed to Adam. I then fleshed it out into the idea for a whole it's a historical fantasy, and it's quite ambitious for someone who's not written a book before, and I tried for most of last year to turn it into a longer novel, and I think I just lacked the academic structure and knowledge of writing as a practice and theory to bring it to life. And for me, it's so important to learn from people who are better than you, people who are more experienced, knowledgeable people. And the Exeter MA was really appealing because of the different guest writers they have on it. As someone who is a bit flighty and chaotic and gets distracted by anything shiny, I needed something to work towards and refine my skills. And I think I am already writing 10 times better than I was a month ago because of 2 weeks on this course, and I'm just so excited to imagine what it's going to look like in 2 years.
I'm obsessed.
I'm
obsessed.
And it's not it's not to say you can't study it yourself and do it yourself. I'm sure you absolutely can, but that's just not me. I think I really thrive in that sort of workshop environment with other people who are writing and who can give you feedback.
I just love your ability to take something and pour your passion into it, and I really see that with you. It's like you don't do things like 50%.
No.
It seems to
I'm
be
all in.
It's like 100%. You're all in, and I think that's what makes it so inspiring. And you know, it is so challenging doing what you're doing, which is part-time. Well, I would say full-time content creation in a way, but part-time content creation, full-time work. Also now you're doing an MA. I mean, you're very clearly someone that loves juggling all of the things because it gives you that sense of purpose and fulfillment. I think that's just so inspiring. Also, the fact that you're writing a fantasy novel is really, really great. Yeah, it's interesting how you can have so many similarities with a background and growing up, and then be really drawn to like narrative writing and games. And I think it's all quite interestingly a form of connection and escapism, and also we seek ourselves and traits and things that are important to us through the characters that we play and through the games that we really connect with, and the protagonists and sometimes even the antagonists that we tend to fall in love with. You know, we really seek either what we don't have or what we see in ourselves, and we look for that in
absolutely
in what we play and what we write.
And I think that is like really that is so true, and it does resonate with why some of my favorite games are the ones I love, like with Souls. Like it's very much for me it's a single player adventure, but you're encouraged to connect by reading notes from people that are trying to either help you or hinder you. You can summon in help, you can summon in the NPCs. It feels very connected, but you can limit that to what you want. And things like Death Stranding, like one of my favorite games, it's like that is all about Sam on his own, but utilizing things around the environment that were left for him by other players, and reconnecting the whole of the UCA and bringing people together, but in a unusual and limited way. You know, you said when you were talking about your degree, this idea of learning from other people, you loved with the MA, that there were going to be other writers that you could learn from. You see that in whatever you do, and it's I like to almost think that you've taken all of that and you're now creating in a way in which other people can learn from you, and I would see that within your community. I'm sure that many other people are watching what you do and are being so inspired by both the content that you're making, but the conversations that you're having. I think you are also now in a way passing the baton to people from your own experience, which I think is absolutely just gorgeous. Yeah, it is. It does give you imposter syndrome though, when people sort of message you and they're like, you inspired me to start, and I look up to you and I'm like, whoa, don't do that, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like so scary. Again, it's like the imposter syndrome, like self-doubt that you can never quite shake, which I'm sure some people take to the grave. But I think a certain level of being humble is healthy. I don't think it's ever good to think that you're the best, because then where do you go from there? Actually, one of my very last questions was actually about
you know, what kind of personal healing or new perspectives has content creation and gaming brought up for you? I mean, we've discussed so many today, you know, this confidence and challenging yourself in ways that really challenge your comfortability, but then, as you said, that you're able to develop further. Is there any other healing journeys that, or kind of perspectives that have come up, you know, since you've started?
I think like it's just been so interwoven with my healing journey. It's hard to know where that ends and I begin, if that makes sense. Like, it feels like such a part of me that everything I've been through I would attribute in part to the content. It gives me a grounding and a foundation and a sense of comfort and familiarity. Like when my long-term relationship broke down, I felt incredibly alone, incredibly scared. It was the first time I'd been on my own since I left uni, and I don't have like a sort of a family to fall back on in terms of like financial help, and like I don't have my childhood home anymore. We lost that. I don't have a bedroom to go back to. Like, I felt very much like out in the middle of the ocean by myself. But when I moved into my own little flat, I had my setup and I could make videos, and it felt like that didn't change. And it felt like I had my PS5, I had my PC, I had my monitors, I had my chair, and I had my community, and I felt like everything else was in disarray, but I still had that foundation of Emmalition and my videos to make. And I don't think anyone who watches me would know how important that was to me at the time, just to have that stability in one area of my life where everything else was uncertain and my future was so uncertain. I think I will do this for as long as is reasonably possible, because it is such a lighthouse for me in a way. So
I love that. I love that. It's such a lighthouse. And, you know, I actually think about perhaps the content that you make, and, you know, the presence that you have had, I'm sure has probably been an anchor to others as well, you know, in the way in which you connect with other people. But I love that it's almost like this is the foundation that has been there with me even since you were younger. You know, your gaming has always been there as a foundation, as an anchor, and now you're able to really develop it, and it's just kind of, you've got so many tributaries coming from it, and it's so exciting to watch that and see, you know, what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see you, you know, working on some kind of game, writing.
I would love that.
I see it in the stars. I see it in the stars.
Miyazaki, I'm available.
I'd be curious, what other adventures are you drawn to next?
It's interesting you asked me this question, actually, because I made a list of like Emmalition affirmations for myself recently, because
can you tell me about it?
Because I feel like I was getting to a point where I was getting stressed with my content. I was playing too many games at once because things were coming out left and right that I wanted to play. I was getting sponsorships for games that maybe don't resonate with my audience, but because of the buying the house and the money troubles, I was like, I'll take it. And then I wasn't feeling super proud of the content I was making because of that. So there was a few things I was like, I want to change this year, and I want to make sure I'm proud of what I'm doing every step of the way. So I made myself a little notes app, and the first one is, I only take meaningful sponsorships that provide value to me and my audience. I only play one game at a time is the next one. I don't attend events just because of FOMO. I'll only attend things that have value to me and my audience. So this means like in-person events, like in London, that I break my back to get to for virtually no reason. I share opportunities with all my friends and speak their names in rooms they're not in, which I try to do anyway, but it's just reinforcing that. Sharing sponsorship opportunities with friends. Like I had Final Fantasy approach me recently, and I was like, I've never played Final Fantasy, but my friend Maria loves it, so you should go speak to her, like that kind of thing.
That is wonderful.
There's one, I don't take online criticism seriously, and then I can only create good and creative work when I'm feeling well rested and mentally energized. So like not burning myself out, because the work will suffer, like the videos suffer, everything suffers if I'm pushing myself too hard. So they were my little affirmations.
I love that. And you know, as you said, I can really, we could really see the how you're already implementing that. And actually it's interesting that a lot of the conversation we were talking about today was about balancing your well-being, and even though you are someone that's like super resilient and you're like high functioning and you're like, I can manage all of this, there is an aspect of recognizing, okay, where can I just make a little like air pocket for myself?
Exactly.
Like, where can I just like take a minute and again not burn yourself out, because that's also really important when you're balancing and so many different things.
And just listening to myself. Like, I was recording Saros a week or so ago, and my mental health just dipped like so badly. It was just one of those days. Something had upset me in my personal life, and I just felt like I was forcing myself to play just to have a video out on time. And I was like, what do I mean on time? Like, there's no schedule. This is my channel.
I
like, why am I stressing? So I just stopped recording, and I was like, I'll just play when I'm feeling better. Like, whereas before I maybe would have sat there and kind of suffered in silence and made the video anyway, which is not how I want to live. So I paused the recording and just went and had a chill evening and read my book and stuff. Like, it.
You spoke about this idea of being an Emma who, you know, was kind of putting many masks on in order to survive, you know, around that time in school and college, and you're doing a lot of things to fit in and maybe be someone that you weren't. And in comparison to who you are now, you are so authentically you.
Thank you.
And it's just amazing to see, right? It's so amazing. And like, young Emma would probably have, as you said, like a disbelief in the fact that you are so authentically you, because we don't realize that when we're younger, right? But
exactly.
You are completely just listening to you, and you're so proud of your identity and what those different parts of your identity look like. And I think it's just absolutely inspirational and just wonderful.
Really, thank you. You make me cry. Wonderful. It's really nice.
No, I mean it. Today, honestly, I have enjoyed our conversation so much.
Me too. I feel invigorated.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like there was just so many things that a lot of individuals will really relate to, and a lot of really important topics that I feel like really should be in the space. And I just want to thank you again so much for wanting to just come and chat with me about it, because it was inspirational and just really wonderful to listen to.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice, and I love talking about this kind of stuff, and there's not a lot of opportunities, I would say, to speak to someone like yourself, like in the industry about these kind of things. And it's also nice just for my own catharsis to unpack things. So thank you.
No, of course. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for watching. And
thanks, everyone.
Emma, you want to tell everyone where they can find you? I mean, I'm going to be putting the links in all of it, but tell everyone.
Yeah, so it's Emmalition on YouTube, Emmalition on Twitch, Emmalition on Instagram.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
My cat's actually currently behind me, which is really funny. He's just like sitting, ogling the camera, waiting for a treat.
So cute.
See you guys later.
Bye.